When a fast food chain hits it big, global expansion is always the ultimate goal. Brands spend billions trying to conquer international markets, especially the United States. But there is one elite burger chain that looked at the entire world, drew a hard line at the border, and refused to expand outside Canada. To this day, they won't flip a single burger on foreign soil, not because they failed. This company has been successfully beating McDonald's and Burger King on its own turf for over 60 years. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why they built a corporate fortress, why they deliberately keep the rest of the world locked out, and why their radical strategy actually works better than global expansion ever could. Back in 1959, in Richmond Hill, Ontario, two founders launched a restaurant called Harvey's. At that exact moment, McDonald's was taking over the world with a simple formula: extreme speed, total uniformity. At McDonald's, your burger was pre-made, wrapped in paper, and sat under a heat lamp until someone bought it. It was fast, but it was mechanical. Harvey's decided to do the exact opposite. They built a system that felt less like a factory and more like a premium backyard barbecue. They cooked their patties over an open charcoal flame, which gave every single burger a distinct smoky flavor you could not get from a flat griddle. But the flame wasn't their real weapon. The assembly line was, instead of hiding the kitchen behind a wall, Harvey's brought the ingredients straight to the front of the restaurant. After paying, customers walked down a long glass counter, looking at a massive display of fresh toppings. You didn't just order a burger, you directed it. If you wanted a mountain of jalapenos, double pickles, and a specific house sauce, an employee built it right in front of your eyes, exactly the way you wanted it. This was total customization decades before brands like Subway or Chipotle made it popular. Harvey's was doing this in the 1960s, long before the fast casual movement even had a name. This concept created an intensely loyal, cult-like following across the country. For generations, Harvey's became a national treasure. The business was highly profitable, backed by a massive corporate parent company that later merged it with Swiss Chalet, a major rotisserie chicken chain. Together, they created dual-branded locations where two restaurants shared one building, which cut real estate costs and doubled foot traffic. They even dominated unconventional spaces, putting mini restaurants inside massive Home Depot warehouses to capture the weekend contractor crowd. People would walk in to buy lumber and walk out with a flame-grilled burger. By every financial measure, Harvey's had the money and the power to launch a massive global invasion, starting right next door in the United States. But they refused to leave their home country. And the reason is more interesting than most people expect. To understand why they banned operations outside Canada, you only have to look at what would have happened if they tried to cross the American border. The US burger market isn't just crowded. It is a hyper-saturated war zone ruled by fanatical regional loyalties. If Harvey's crossed into the States, they wouldn't just fight McDonald's and its nearly 14,000 American locations. They would have to go toe-to-toe with In-N-Out on the West Coast, Whataburger across the South, and Culver's throughout the Midwest. Every single region of the country already had an established champion. To compete, Harvey's would have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars just on marketing to explain to American consumers who they even were and why they should care. Here's where it gets really painful. Harvey's biggest strength in Canada would have become a massive weakness abroad. In Canada, their custom garnish counter was unique. Nobody else was doing it. But south of the border, fast casual giants like Fuddruckers and Chipotle had already perfected the build it in front of you model. Outside their home turf, Harvey's wouldn't look like an innovator. They would look like a copycat arriving late to a party that started without them. But the real death blow to any expansion plan was the supply chain. Harvey's built its entire reputation on quality, pledging to use 100% local Canadian beef and fresh ingredients. Replicating that exact supply chain across international borders would require a logistical miracle and billions in upfront capital. You can't just snap your fingers and recreate a supply network that took decades to build. They would have needed new beef suppliers, new produce distributors, new refrigeration logistics, all while maintaining the exact same quality their customers expected. One slip-up and the entire brand promise collapses. Harvey's executives watched other Canadian legends try to cross the border and get absolutely crushed. They saw Tim Hortons, the country's most iconic coffee chain, lose massive amounts of money trying to establish a footprint in the United States. Tim Hortons opened hundreds of US locations over the years, only to repeatedly close them and retreat. The American market chewed them up and spit them out. Harvey's took notes. Their leadership realized that chasing the global expansion dream was a trap disguised as an opportunity. Instead of risking the entire company on a reckless gamble, they chose a brilliant alternative. They weaponized their exclusivity. They doubled down on their home market, embraced their identity as a Canadian-only brand, and actively marketed themselves as the homegrown defense against foreign corporate invaders. They even celebrated their longevity with massive national campaigns, hiding thousands of free VIP burger cards at major Canadian landmarks to drive excitement and loyalty. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because Harvey's isn't the only Canadian food story built around exclusivity. McDonald's Canada itself runs a similar playbook with the McLobster, a seafood sandwich made with real lobster meat, lettuce, and mayonnaise served on a bun. McDonald's first launched the McLobster in 1993, and it quickly became a seasonal sensation. But just like Harvey's, the McLobster has been effectively banned from most of the world. McDonald's tested it in the northeastern United States back in 2001. It found a modest market in coastal areas, but never gained enough traction for a national rollout. The problem was sourcing. Fresh lobster prices in Canada ranged from 8 to 12 Canadian dollars per pound in 2023, according to Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Those prices fluctuate wildly depending on the season, making consistent menu pricing nearly impossible across a massive international operation. According to a 2019 report from the Globe and Mail, McDonald's Canada saw a 30% increase in sales during lobster season compared to other months. The McLobster drives serious revenue in its home market. A 2023 survey from Canadian Food Insights found that nearly 50% of Canadian respondents wanted to see more seafood options on fast food menus. The demand is real, but McDonald's still won't bring it to most American locations because the supply chain challenges are too severe and health regulations vary dramatically across different states and countries. This is the exact same wall Harvey's hit when they considered expansion. Quality control, supply chain integrity, and regulatory compliance are not problems you solve with money alone. They require infrastructure that takes years, sometimes decades to build. Environmental groups have also raised concerns about overfishing of lobster stocks, which adds another layer of complexity to any expansion plan that relies on consistent access to fresh seafood. The conventional wisdom in business is that growth equals success. If you're not expanding, you're dying. Harvey's completely shattered that belief. They proved that a company can be wildly profitable, culturally beloved, and strategically brilliant by staying exactly where it is. While other chains chased global footprints and burned through cash trying to plant flags in foreign markets, Harvey's kept its money at home and kept its quality high. There is a common assumption that Canadian brands fail internationally because they aren't good enough. That's wrong. Harvey's didn't stay in Canada because they couldn't compete. They stayed because competing abroad would have forced them to become something they are not. A homogenized, mass-produced, cookie-cutter operation that looks exactly like every other burger chain. Their charcoal flame, their glass counter, their fresh local beef. All of that disappears the moment they try to scale across borders. Today, Harvey's remains a profitable, legendary mystery to the rest of the world. An elite burger experience strictly kept inside Canadian borders. One that you simply cannot have anywhere else. They didn't ban expansion because of weakness. They banned it because they understood something most corporations never will. Sometimes, the smartest business decision you can make is to look at the entire globe, all that potential revenue, all that possible growth, and say, no.